Welcome to the Flowerlounge, a place for conversations with wildly creative people and a little plant-loving wisdom to help you experience life in full bloom. I'm Katie Hess, flower alchemist and founder of LOTUSWEI, and I believe in a world where we're all living at our personal edge. Welcome to this week's episode of the Flowerlounge. This is going to be such a fun interview. I'm so excited. Like my body is literally vibrating right now because I'm so excited for this. So a couple of years ago, I found this shoe company. I don't even remember how I found them. Beautiful, exquisite, stylish, gorgeous shoes that are made in Argentina. And I became really interested in this brand. And now I'm really stoked to have the founder of Zouxou shoes with us, Katherine Theobalds, and I'll just tell you a little bit about her. She created this shoe brand in New York City, and when she was in fashion school, Katherine had plans of becoming a clothing designer, but she always had a knack for finding the most interesting shoes in unlikely places. So her taste for shoes evolved and brought her to work at several leading fashion footwear companies in the industry, and her love brought her to Buenos Aires and to her passion for footwear. So when she got inspired by the artistry of local Argentinian shoe design, she cultivated her vision for fashion footwear and launched Zouxou in 2015. It's an extension of her unique and laid-back style, redefined and elevated for the modern-day woman. I love it. So Katherine is currently based in Buenos Aires, where she is currently now, and so graciously accepted this interview, where she lives with her partner and her dog. So excited to have you with us, Katherine. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
I can't wait to talk about business.
Yes.
So we usually start with this little exercise where you close your eyes and you go back to a time in your childhood when you played around flowers or plants or trees, and just think about what might have been your favorite at that time or what pops in your mind first, and what you were doing at the time and who you were with. And if you could describe your favorite flower or botanical from that time in 3 words, and just sort of reflect on how you would describe it in 3 words.
The memory that's sticking out to me now is playing in my backyard, making mud pies and garnishing them with acorns.
Ooh, I love that. Where did you grow up?
And I grew up in the suburbs of DC in Alexandria,
nice.
Virginia.
Okay.
So pretty classic suburban upbringing. And let me see, I'm trying to think of my favorite plant at the time.
So acorns, that would have been like an oak tree?
I believe so. And
do you really resonate with the acorns more, or more with like a flower or a plant or a tree? Or is it the acorns?
I think I just resonate a lot with trees in general. Mm-hmm. They're so majestic, and I just love how they transform throughout the seasons. And I love spring and early summer, so just watching trees fill out with those really bright green young leaves is really exciting for me.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, because what we find is that the way you describe the personality or the qualities of your favorite is typically how you bring your greatest gifts into the world. So, majestic,
okay.
Transforming throughout the seasons, which is kind of cool because you're constantly transforming in business, and you have a business that transforms through the seasons.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. I think also another plant that resonated with me at that age was that those dandelions that were starting to lose, or I don't know, what stage are they in when they're blowing away? They're like light and they turn into like those little feathery
little puffy
buds.
balls. Yeah. It's their last stage. They're like, they've bloomed and now they're spreading their seeds, right?
Right.
How would you describe The dandelion.
That, um, let's see. Well, they are fascinating because they look like something that they are not. They look like cotton, but they're flowers.
Right.
And I mean, they look like cotton, but they're, I mean, cotton, is a plant. But I don't know. I like how they're wild,
Mm-hmm.
and they bring this color that's unique and eye catching,
Mm-hmm.
and then transform into something so simple. And I just love how they get carried away when they're when they're done, they're done. When they're done, they just fade away. And I know that sounds a little bit poetic, considering I think dandelions are associated a lot with death. Perhaps, are they? I don't
Oh,
know.
I just always associate them with like making wishes as a kid.
With making wishes, yeah, yeah, okay, all right. So I'm just making sure I'm not getting too somber here.
It's okay. We like somber too. It's all right. We'll take it all.
But I really connect with things visually.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that just the way that dandelions become transform into
Mm-hmm.
something simple from
Mm-hmm.
something, maybe it's a little bit wild and eclectic. I think that's what's the most attractive part of them.
Cool. Well, you're wild and eclectic, and you like to transform things into their simplistic form, right? Unique and eye-catching. I love that. I mean,
Could
it's
be.
actually it's very similar to what you said about the trees, right? It seems like the way you bring your work into the world is, or your essence into the world is kind of constant fascination with how things transform.
Yeah, I mean, something I try to um, think about beyond, I make shoes, it's a fashion object. But something I try to, I'm constantly thinking about is how I'm helping other people through what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not heart surgery or a healing, maybe it's not healing in a traditional sense, but I think that the real role of fashion and things that we put on our bodies is transformation and healing. It's more about the psyche,
Mm.
and I think that the things that we choose to put on our bodies help us craft the story of who we are to the world. And I think that process of choosing what to wear, what not to wear, deciding, what is no longer necessary, deciding what you really need, what suits your life, I think there's a lot of potential for transformation and empowerment there.
Mm. I love that. You know, it made me think of practices that I've had meditation masters teach about practices where you actually visualize yourself as a goddess, or you visualize like putting on earrings and you're making offerings, whether it's to the world or to other beings, or putting on like essential oils or perfume as an offering, not to yourself but to the world, or like putting on beautiful clothing so that you can embody the greatest expression of yourself. And it really resonates with what you're saying of being like conscious about what you put on and what you express as you and not you. I love that.
I like that perspective about the way you dress being an offering to divinities. I really like that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, and I guess over time, I mean, the beauty of the practice is like over time it will elicit those qualities from you. Like if we're constantly embodying the goddess, like it's hard to be irritable, right? If you're this like goddess form.
Totally. I mean, the things that you put on your body really do have a bearing on how you feel and how you're vibrating. I believe that's true.
So let's talk about Zouxou. Like it's
Okay.
actually a pretty young company. So you're like around 3, 4 years old, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
love
accurate.
that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, this past Thanksgiving was kind of an anniversary of sorts because it was around this time that I got my first prototype back from the workshop, and my sister helped me take photos of it. And I opened my Instagram account and uploaded the first photo. I think it was, yeah, it was around this time. So yeah, that felt like a big deal. I got like very, very emotional because the past 4 years have just gone by so quickly.
Wow. So how did you like take us through a little bit of your process? Like how did you like what was your life like in New York and how did you just one day say like I want to have a fashion brand or I want to do shoes and I wanted them to be made in Argentina. Like how did that all happen?
Well, let's see. I'd been working in the fashion industry for a few years at the time. I
Mhm.
was freelancing. I freelanced at several different companies, and I found myself at this one company for a year. And I, I don't know. I learned a lot in the fashion industry, but I wasn't really that happy with the way things, like with the creative process and the development cycle of the products. Um, all of the companies that I worked at manufactured things in China, which is nothing's wrong with that, but it's just the sheer volume of things that you create that ultimately end up in the landfill really that really just didn't sit well with me. And I just felt uncomfortable with the overproduction and designing things that really were detached from like actual human beings. If just the whole hierarchy of a fashion company with shareholders pressuring creative directors to hit a bottom line, creative directors pushing design teams to make more and more and more. It just wasn't a good fit for me at the time. And at this point, I had been to Argentina a few times, and on one of my first trips to Buenos Aires, I encountered the footwear, the world of footwear, and immediately um, found a way to actually study shoemaking with my hands. Because at the time, on my first trip to Buenos Aires, I was still a fashion student and studying garment construction.
Mm.
And I just gravitated towards leather. I'm a disastrous seamstress. Uh, Manipulating fabric wasn't really gelling with me. And I took a shoemaking course in fashion school and an accessories course and just realized that, it was more fun for me to do. And so when I finally went to Argentina, I met another shoe designer, like a designer with a very small shop, a very small label, and her designs were so unique that I asked her, I just realized I can do this. Tell me how I can do this. And so she wrote down the name of a workshop. The following summer, I returned to Argentina and spent the summer there, learning how to hand make shoes in a workshop.
Wow.
And well, at first, I mean, it took several years to evolve into like an idea for a business because there was a
Takes
language.
time.
It takes time. There was a language barrier, and traveling back and forth. It was just something that it just took a while to like form in my head. And so yeah, that's how I got into shoes.
All the best things take time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
It took me a lot longer to get rolling on making products. That's really fast, I think, actually. That's amazing. Um, it just reminded me before I forget. I saw on Instagram this morning, and you might want to check. There's this guy he's written books about financial strategy, and he had the most beautiful stories on his
Mhm.
thing that you might want to check out later. His name is
Yes.
Ramit, Ramit, and then his last name is Sethi,
Sethi?
Sethi. And
Hmm.
he's, like his work is like he's an author on investing and helping people in their business. But in his stories, he just took a trip with his wife and family to Italy, and they just visited this like super exquisite, like, I don't know, they're making like cashmere and, all these different types of fabrics, like really kind of small, but also he highlighted how the founder was like treating their employees and how they have extra long lunches. And it's just like really beautiful to see the whole kind of behind the scenes. You might like to look at that.
Yes, yes, I love behind the scenes.
Um, yeah. So take us behind the scenes for you. Like, what is your life like? Like, what's your average day like in Argentina? Like, what does it feel like to live in Buenos Aires? Are you kind of like one womaning it, doing designs, and you have a team that helps you, or how does that work?
Okay, so the way it works is I do almost everything related to my business, from social media posts to
As usual.
yeah, to
In the beginning, it's
uploading.
like that.
It is like that. It's a lot, but I do everything social media and marketing related to developing the product to organizing production, but I don't make the shoes myself, and
Uh-huh.
I don't fulfill orders.
Uh-huh.
So a typical day would be me waking up around 8 or 8:30,
Mm-hmm.
and having a kind of like a relaxed morning routine, breakfast, taking my dog for a quick walk. And then every day is a little bit different because there's a large part of my work that I have to do at a desk, with the computer, and then the
Of
other
course.
part is being out in the street a lot, running errands and going to the workshops and touching base with the artisans who make the shoes. So depending on what the objective of the day is, I'm either cracking open my laptop after my morning routine, or hitting the streets and picking up supplies and things of that nature. The challenging thing about doing the production part is that everything is super spread out. Buenos Aires is a massive city,
Yeah.
and even though I know how to drive, um, the thing is, the only car that we have is a manual transmission, and
Mhm.
I know how to drive a manual transmission, but the traffic rules are crazy here, and
Right.
I'm just not comfortable driving in the city. So I do
Do you have
everything.
lanes? Is it like Mexico where like the lanes are arbitrary?
They're totally arbitrary. Like I'll be driving down this street, and Mariano, my partner, will be like, babe, you need to share the road. I'm like, this is a 2-lane road. He's like, yeah, just move over so that other person can pass you, and there are no lines. It's just like, okay. And there are very few stoplights except for major avenues. Like they don't have stop signs really either. Like you just have to there's like these two-way intersection, and like you have to do this rolling stop thing, and it's kind
Kind
of
of
like a
work it out.
battle of wills. Yeah, it's a battle of
Yeah,
wills. Like you
like
kind of have to edge your way into the intersection while the other person is coming at you, and they're like, I'm going to mow you down. And so I do everything by Uber, which is which technically isn't even legal here. Like Uber is not a legal thing here, so that comes with its own complications. So it's basically that. Right now, I work with two different workshops. one of my makers his name is Miguel. He has a workshop that's adjoined to his home, and the
Wow.
other Cristobal is his workshop is part of a it's part of like a very small room that's part of a storage facility, and it's very small, but you don't actually need a ton of space to make shoes the artisanal way. So that's pretty much the situation. Sometimes when the workload is high, Miguel and Cristobal will have help from cutters to other shoemakers who help them with the shoe production. And then there's a separate person who takes care of the finishing of the shoes, but they're all independent employee. They're independent contractors, let's say. They're not my employees, but they're production partners who negotiate their own hours. They choose where they work. They choose their prices, essentially. Right. So that's the situation.
And do they make things for other people too? Like, do you have to sort of be jockeying for like my production time and this is what I need, or are they 100% making things for you?
They have a couple of other clients, yeah. But I think I'm the most steady one. I think I'm the most consistent one. I think they have like nice. Every now and then they'll get little jobs that flow in and out, but with me it's more of a weekly like a constant wheel of shoes being made.
That's so cool, because it sounds to me like what you're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like you are, oh God, this is like, as a business owner, this is so liberating. It's not like you have to go to this huge manufacturing facility and like jockey your way in and prove yourself and say like, I want 3,000 of this color purple in size 7. And then you've got to like figure out how are you going to sell 3,000 in size 7 in purple. It's not like you're kind of a little bit closer to made to order, right?
Yeah, actually we do make a lot of things to order, even though I found that it's best to have a combination of both. The good thing about made to order is that I can experiment more with things and offer a wider selection without purchasing the merchandise outright. I can test things out, see if there's a demand, and if it's not, no big deal. I just take the photo away from the website. But I do have flexibility in that sense. I'm not beholden to overproducing because of factory minimums, and yeah, I think that's been extremely helpful for my growth.
And the quality is just exquisite. Like if you're listening and you want to check out the website right away, Zouxou is ZOU and then XOU.com. Am I right?
Yep, that's right.
And you can just see like the leathers are like just soft and luscious, and you use all these great colors and
everything. Thank you.
Stuff. Yeah, I mean, the quality is just exquisite. It's really.
Thank you. Yeah, Argentina does have a reputation for having very, very, very high quality leather. So I'm spoiled in that sense. There are a lot of things to choose from. A lot of unique finishes and just very noble materials in general.
I bought a pair of like little boots from you, I think last year, and like I cannot tell you how many compliments I get on those boots.
Oh, really?
Especially in New York. They're like black, kind of short booties with a zipper, and you made this to die for red color that disappeared.
Yes.
I was like, bring back the red boots.
Oh, I wish you had told me that, because I wasn't sure that I wasn't sure whether to bring something back. That's the problem with being a one-woman show. It's just sometimes like, I need a little bit of feedback, like, hey, what do you think? so I'm making all of these decisions on my own, which can be challenging, but it's good to hear when someone was appreciating a style and wants it to come back.
Yeah, totally. They're exquisite, beautiful. Bring back the boots, especially
Okay, all right, noted.
Yeah, so let's see. What's the most challenging thing? I mean, I think for most people, like having a business anyway is pretty challenging. Having a business in a country they didn't grow up in, and like how good is your Spanish?
Oh, my
You're learning.
Spanish is
Now you're
pretty good.
learning. Now you're
No,
learning.
my Spanish is pretty good. Like it's
But you're growing a
definitely.
business in another country that in a language that you didn't grow up with. I mean, that's like incredible. That's fabulous. You're
Oh,
so
thank
bold.
you.
You're so bold.
I did, I mean, to be honest, it was very helpful that, I have the support of Mariano, my partner. He's Argentine, so he helped me a lot in the beginning stages, especially when there was more of a language barrier, and especially just like there are a lot of things I needed to learn culturally about doing business with people here. They're like the language is not even a half of it. Like there are some
Right.
things here that are
Tell,
like it's
tell,
so
tell,
funny.
tell us the dirt. Tell us like tell me what is it?
Well, okay. How do I? So, like the other day, this happened. This happened maybe like maybe a month ago or so. But I had one of those days where it's just like, oh my god, this is Argentina. Like, I just had one of those frustrating days that I don't know if anyone has ever lived in Argentina, done business in Argentina. Like, I think that they will like understand what I'm saying. But okay, so for example, the peso is very weak. The economy is not in a great situation. And for some reason, the peso, the value of the peso is based on the value of the dollar. And
Right.
so the exchange rate is constantly fluctuating. For example, last December, the exchange rate was 20 pesos to the dollar.
Okay.
And now, due to government policies and things happening with the administration, the current administration,
Yep.
the exchange rate is now 40 pesos to one. So to $1. So that means
That's
that
great, right?
it's complicated, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why.
Okay.
Um, some suppliers base their commodities off the price of the dollar, and so the prices of goods and services it's constantly changing.
Oh
So
my God.
one day, and what
So
so
your
one day
costing is changing. The
my
cost that
costing is constantly changing. Sometimes
oh,
it's in my favor, but to be honest, when it is in my favor, that means it goes against someone else's favor, like the guys that make my shoes, or the people that I'm buying supplies from, and that's not it's not really a great from an ethical standpoint to take advantage of that. So what something that I try to do is is constantly check in with the manufacturers and say, how is this price feeling per unit right now? Is that okay? Because the other thing is that consumer prices are always rising. The cost of gas and cost of
right.
transportation fluctuates, but salaries stay the same. So that's a very Argentina problem. Another problem is that when I go to take out money from the bank, people are, you're limited to drawing only certain amounts a day. And this is to kind of control the amount of currency that's in the street due to the same inflation problem. So,
Oh my God.
and okay, all of my manufacturers only accept cash. Like, this
Shit.
is the
So
weird
you
thing. This
can't
is the
do like
weird
a
thing
little
that
bank transfer and zip.
no, because everyone works under the table, or some people are working partially under the table and partially like on the books, let's
It's just
say.
the way it is in Argentina.
It's just the way it is. But all of my manufacturers, all of my suppliers only take cash. And so imagine on the day that I need to pay for
That's a lot of
a
cash.
large order of shoes,
That's a
or
lot of cash.
take it to the customs dispatcher to send it to the US. It's like, and I can seriously only withdraw like I think $200 max a day. So
What?
there's like, yeah, really, like
So you have to go to the ATM and just like withdraw every day and stash a little like like shoebox under your bed so you can pay for your
that, or usually what happens is that I have to find ways and means to trade with, you know, someone who has lots of pesos on hand. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say shady, but it's incredibly complicated to live here sometimes. And, and, you know, sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes I'll go to a tannery and request, you know, X amount of the lining I always get, and they're like, oh no, we're not going to order more until we know what's happening to the dollar. It's like, so you don't know when you're going to get more, you know? So it's
oh my god,
it's
oh my god,
extremely complicated. But I mean, aside from just like, you know, being Argentina, the most complicated thing or the most challenging thing for me is doing everything. Yeah, like I've found that, you know, whenever I focus on one area of the business, the other part suffers. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to assess my needs as far as getting help, like finding the right help, because, you know, it's really hard to say like, well, what area do I need the most help in? You know, and who can do this for me? Who can I trust enough to, you know, take care of quality control and handle this large amount of cash? And, you know, do what I would do it as well as I would do it, you know? Right. So right. That's what's the most challenging.
What about something like social media or marketing? Would that be easier to offload with less responsibility, or is that what you really enjoy doing?
I think I have like I'm a very moody person, which adds another layer of complication. So I'm not really, to be honest, I'm really not that into social media. Like my personal accounts are very rarely updated, but you know, it's a necessity to update my Instagram page, and I try to do my best with telling a good story. But you know, sometimes I succumb to comparisonitis. And that's like not a very productive emotion to be dealing with. And so, you know, if I could have someone take care of that on days when I'm, you know, not into it, that would be great. But other than that, I have a blog on my website, and I do like, you know, making content for that. That's more anti-social media, even though I do share it on all of my, you know, through email, and, you know, it becomes content for social media. I really like making stories through that medium. But I think the things that I could really just do without are running the little errands. You know, there's no one else to do certain things but me. But it, you know, at the same time, even though it doesn't take that much mental energy, it just drains energy for other things that do require that energy. So that's my.
There's got to be someone at the fashion school in Buenos Aires who would like die to work with you, right?
I think so. But I don't know. I guess it's just a matter of, yeah, I think it's something I need to explore more.
You got to jump in and then start small and give them little things that you can let go of and not feel like it's the big pile of cash going down the road and you're not sure. Like
it's hard letting go of some things, to be honest. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to let go. Like, how do you deal with, was it hard for you to let go of certain tasks with running your business?
I think in the beginning it was, but you know, maybe like with the first couple people or the things that I really loved doing, it was hard to give up. But the more I did it, the easier it became. And also I just realized that I could only grow to a certain stage or size without help. Now I have a team of almost 10. And
oh, wow.
It just gets easier and easier and easier. Yeah, I mean, I think you want to look at like, what are those things that are draining you?
Yeah.
And then what are the things that you're the best at that like literally you should keep doing because you just love it and infuses so much joy into the brand and you're amazing at it. Or someone else who does things like similar to you, like a photographer that might like take your shoes off on this beautiful shoot and come back with gorgeous photos that you can just plop in and tell the story. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say, just start before you even think you're ready. And, you know, don't be afraid to let people go if it doesn't work out. You know, they always say like, hire slow, fire fast. And that's probably one of the hardest things to do. For me personally, it's been difficult. Like, letting people go is a scary thing.
Yeah.
But it's so necessary. And it's like a beautiful opportunity that you can bring another human being into your sphere and they
Hmm.
can learn new things and you can help them improve as a human being and they can help you improve as a human being. And it just kind of creates, a nice transformative dynamic to the mix.
And what are the parts that you love doing the most in your business?
Mm, that's a great question. Definitely like the visioning, like making sure we're way out on that far edge,
Hmm.
creating products, going to, traveling to source new flower essences,
Hmm.
and then any of the like coming up with new ideas for videos or visuals or strategies, I guess. Visioning and strategizing and making pretty things and making incredible experiences. I like to think of like, how could we make this into an experience that no one's had before?
Hmm.
So, like, yes, we make flower essences, but then we started doing events and flower mandalas and photo shoots and retreats and just like trying to, like, how to, like, bubblegum, like, how far can we stretch the experience? Those are the parts that I like. What about you?
Let's see. I really like getting my hands dirty with developing new product. I really like the development process,
Yeah, so fun.
and I really do like the part where I get to interact with customers in person. Um,
Mm.
like about a year ago, I was on the road a lot, traveling to different shows, like West Coast Craft and Renegade, and different pop-ups within New York. And like my favorite part is really getting feedback, seeing people getting excited about the product, and that's where it all comes together for me. You know,
I bet.
um,
Do you ever do fashion show, like mini fashion shows in New York?
no fashion shows.
No.
All of the events that I've done have been, purely for selling, not
Yeah.
just displaying. Um, but that would be fun. Maybe in the future, having a little presentation would be would be a cool experience. Although, it's um, it's always a little bit of a creative challenge to figure out the best way to present shoes, because shoes are very um, well, they're on the feet for one thing. You know,
What
you
about
need a. Mhm. You have an idea? Tell me.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, let's do an event together. Um, what about like reflexology treatments? Like building this, like where a woman could come to like a lounge and like learn about her feet and get a reflexology treatment that will like, all the different points on your feet that like it's basically like a full body massage, but just on your feet.
I love that.
And then you could do what do you call it? Like show a video or like a slideshow of where you make the shoes and like little snippets of like street, walking down the street in Buenos Aires and just like what that feels like and what it
I
sounds
love
like.
that. I love that. No, actually, video is like moving image. I think really is a good medium for presenting shoes and things of that nature, because I don't know, just something about it. It just makes the product come to life when you see it move.
Mm-hmm. And you're
Um,
walking in them, right?
exactly. But I love that reflexology idea.
We should talk further. When's the next time you're
Yes.
coming to New York? You
I don't know
know?
yet. Definitely 2019,
Mhm.
first half, but I haven't defined a return date yet. That's something, yeah, my life was pretty much nomadic up until, the beginning of this year. And I just felt it was really important to slow down and do like the longer range visioning that I needed to do. In order to do that, I think that like I need to stay in one place for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I get it. Um, how did you meet Mariano?
So we were introduced by mutual friends at a cookout in New York, in Central Park, actually. Very romantic.
In New York?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. And is he
yeah,
Argentine?
yeah. He's Argentine. We met. Well, he lived in New York for, I think he was living there over 10 years at the time I met him. He moved to New York to pursue a career in music. And and then, we lived in New York together for a few years and then just decided we needed a change of pace and decided to try Buenos Aires.
Wow. Interesting. What do you have for breakfast in the morning?
I have a hard boiled egg
Uh-huh.
and a little bit of cheese
Uh-huh.
with either coffee or mate.
Oh, yum. Oh my God. That's so great.
What about you?
What do I have for breakfast? Today it was bone broth, and that was it.
Oh, what is that? Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, it's like after you've cooked, the meat, then you like
Mm-hmm.
chop the bones
Mm-hmm.
and you like cook it for 12 hours so that all the marrow and the minerals and the like good stuff from the bones comes out. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will toss in vegetables. The one I'm drinking today is it actually doesn't have meat. It's like shiitake mushrooms and seaweed. So it's
Sounds
like
good.
slow cooked seaweed and mushrooms.
But without any bone marrow.
This one doesn't have any. No.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's just the essence of um, a vegetable or a
Mhm.
meat. And how do you drink it? Like, is it warm or cold?
It's hot, like tea almost. Yeah. And then, oh my God. Okay, so the next time you go to New York, you have to go to this place called Brodo. They
Mm-hmm.
have um they have like uptown, they have it on tap. But my favorite is this little window in the East Village where you literally just like like just like you'd go to get a coffee in a little paper cup. You go up
Mm-hmm.
to this little window and you can order, anywhere from like Amish organic chicken broth to the different kinds of meats to the, vegetarian shiitake mushrooms and seaweed. And then you can put things in it like turmeric and ginger and chili and
That
ghee.
sounds really good.
Oh, it's so delicious. Um,
And it's like, and is it satisfying? Like,
it's
does it satisfy the
warming
appetite?
and it fills you up if there's enough fat in there. But the main, I mean, you still need to eat, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
main benefits are like the collagen and the minerals are really good for your skin and bones and hair, and they rebuild your digestive system. So for people who are like
Okay.
having like constant food allergies or sensitivities, it starts to rebuild all the prebiotics and probiotic systems so that we can better digest. But you probably have access to better food in Argentina than the US, I would say.
Um, it's definitely different. The meat here is very delicious. So I bet, the, if you make a bone broth
Less
from cow
preservatives.
products, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure it'll be delicious. Um, there's not as much variety in some categories, but there's good food here. Very good quality food as well. Mhm.
It's getting chilly here. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so chilly is just chilly. But are you in hitting this middle of the summer right now?
Well, right now it's still spring, and it will be spring until the 21st of December. So when it's officially winter for you, it's officially
Uh-huh.
summer here. And
Mhm.
the weather's been mostly warm, with some cool days sprinkled in, and a lot of rain, like frequent rain. It's
Mhm.
definitely a wet season.
Cool. And then back to the shoes. What would be like I was really curious if you had like a favorite design that you just feel like is so timeless and you're just always going to bring it back because you love it, or like a favorite pair that you made that you took out of production, but you just like love it so much.
Let's see. Well, I think that I had a slide in the collection called the Sabine slide, and I took it out of the collection because I felt that maybe it was too much of an in between heel height. Like I felt at the time maybe it should either be higher or be totally flat. But now I don't know, I still have them in my personal collection, and I find myself going to them a lot because they are so comfortable, but just that little bit of lift makes me feel so pulled together. And yeah, it just brings, you know, there's so it's so versatile. I can, you know, throw like bright colors on it, or it looks great in black, or, you know, I can go crazy with texture, and it's never too much or too little. So I'll probably bring that back. And then the other style that I've had in my collection since the beginning is the mule that you ordered, the one with the strap across the instep. That one is a classic, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, it's so elegant.
Thank you.
How many pairs of shoes are you in your closet? Are you the shoemaker that has no shoes, or do you have shoes?
I do have a lot of shoes, but I try to keep the shoe population under control. So I donate shoes when I feel like I'm done with them, or you know, I feel like they're probably just like, you know, I had this pair of suede mules that I wore into the ground, and I'm like, it's probably not good advertising for me to be wearing shoes that I designed that look this raggedy. So I'm going to go ahead and like donate them. The thing I don't have a lot of actually is clothing. I have a pretty minimal wardrobe as far as clothing is concerned.
And how do you decide colors, like color palettes? Are you looking at like fashion trends, or are you just saying like, I feel like doing this color, so I'm going to do this color? Or how do you just choose?
The truth is that I'm pretty limited to what is available at the tanneries that I purchase leathers from. You know, since I'm doing pretty small quantities, I don't have, like, I don't get to dye leathers to my liking.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is, you know, I do a little bit of research. I do start, you know, the process by doing a little bit of research to see what is commercial. But then, you know, I just try to balance it with things that are commercial, things that are classic, and things that are speaking to me, even if I know it's not going to necessarily sell a ton. Like there was this light purple color that I was so
Oh my
obsessed
God.
with. You know
Divine.
which one I'm talking about? You know which one I'm talking
Divine.
about?
It's like super light, right? Like super
Yeah,
light, like
yeah,
almost
yeah.
luminescent.
Yeah, like when I saw the leather there in the warehouse, I was like just drawn to it, and I couldn't stop looking at it. And I'm like, okay, it's a purple shoe, but I don't care. It's not commercial at all, but I'm going to do it. So sometimes I just go for it. But
I love that color. I wanted to buy those shoes because I just love that color. But then I was like, how am I going to wear those? What am I going to wear it with? Like, what do you wear those with?
I wear a lot of black and gray, so
Yeah.
it's not an issue. It's not an issue for me. I think if you wear a lot of you know, I think you can find a way to make it work. But you
Yeah.
know, I'm a strong believer in
I
you
should
know,
talk.
getting.
I'm wearing
Do you wear?
bright green shoes right now, and they don't match with
Oh,
anything.
let me
So
see. Can I
I
see?
really, I really, they're just like these kind of boots.
Oh, those are so fun. I Are those Uggs?
Yes.
Okay, I have a confession. I love Uggs. I love
Oh, I know.
they're just so comfortable. Like I know that I'm going to be highly criticized for confessing this as a shoe designer, but I mean they're just so comfortable.
It's like walking on clouds, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Doesn't matter that they're
So,
ugly.
but you know, another that's a good question about choosing the colors. You know, I've been thinking about conducting a survey because I have trouble stepping outside of my own personal tastes when I'm choosing colors. Um, you know, and I think the result is I choose things that maybe would only look good on a narrow range of complexions, but you know, whereas things that I don't choose definitely suit a broad range of complexions don't occur to me because it, you know, it doesn't seem, it just doesn't fit into my wardrobe, you know? So I think in that sense, I would love some customer feedback, you know, what colors they'd like to see, colors they're wearing a lot of, you know, like what is a color that you would never wear that, or that you, like, do you wear brown shoes, for example?
I could. I mean, I'm either like, you know, the simple black that you can always go to, or like
Mm-hmm.
really wild colors that I just don't care if they match actually, like green, orange, or magenta, or so it's either like super conservative or just crazy nuts and who cares.
No, and like, you know, sometimes it's a real problem for me because I'm like, I don't, like, okay, every shoe has to be black. Now I'm learning not every shoe has to, I don't have to make every single shoe in black because it's not necessarily going to be interesting in black, you know?
Mm.
Um, and but sometimes I'm like, I can be overly, you know, I can have like an overly commercial point of view and be like, this needs to be in black. Or like, I don't see the point of doing this in any other color but black. I don't know, maybe brown. Then that's when I need to like, that's when it would be really helpful for me to have someone to bounce ideas off of.
It would be fun. What might be fun for you is to do like a, like just how we're doing on our meeting on Zoom, is you could have sort of like an inner circle of folks, and you know, have just like
I
a
love
roundup
that.
twice a year where you like get
I
people
love
on, and
that.
you share what
Yes.
you're up to, and you get people involved and interactive. You know, ultimately you get to make the final say, and you have like the materials that you can have access to and not, and you can, you know, but that way like people feel like they're like a part of the process, and
Yes,
then
yes,
like,
yes, yes.
you know, I like now I just want to go buy like 10 pairs of your shoes now because we've talked about it. So I think it will also be good for business.
Yeah. Is that how you get a lot of your customer feedback?
um Actually, I haven't done a lot of those focus groups, although we do have like we have a smaller subscription group where we ship out a new, like a different elixir every month. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've got like a private Facebook group, and people can give feedback in terms of how they feel and, you know, what they want. Um, but I do pay attention to like like we get a lot of emails of people like kind of pouring their heart out and saying like, this is what's happening to me. Or like if we hear a lot of like, I'm heartbroken, then we'll come up with something for heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, like depending on what we're hearing from folks. But it's actually like a really fun idea. No, you know what I will say, I did do that with packaging design sometimes. Like with that
Mm-hmm.
inner group, I'd say, here's 9 designs for this, which one do you guys like the best, and then get that kind of feedback. And then with that smaller group, I also would send out different samples of things and say like, which scent do you like better. So I have done it. It's pretty fun.
That is, yeah, that's something that's one of my goals for this coming year, to get more customer feedback.
Yeah, and I think that just like just having this conversation, it's like, oh my god, I feel like I know you now, and I have like my bond with your company is so much stronger now. um that, you know, and I'm like curious, like I want to know what your life is like, and what is it like on the streets, and like a little peek into like, you know, Miguel putting together leather or something. Like all of those things would be, um I don't know, super intriguing for me as a customer, and as
Yeah.
like a someone in your community, because I think sometimes oftentimes we feel like we see the website but there's like this wall between us, right? And I know like you answer my emails, you do, like
Yeah.
I know that. So like if it's like a smaller wall, but it's still like there's a wall. um so yeah, I guess it's like, how do we as businesses break down those, you know, perceived invisible walls so that people can really feel like a deep connection. And one way we've done that is events, you know, just like face to face events, which sounds like it's really a good, um, it's a good way that you've experienced that as well.
Yeah, what you're saying is true though. You bring up an interesting point. You know, with businesses having walls, and you know, it is, you know, since I'm, you know, the only person who runs it at this point, I think it is, you know, a challenge for me to figure out how to share my life in a way that's relevant. Because at first, you know, coming from a very corporate background, you know, I think of companies or brands as entities.
Yeah.
You know, there are people behind them, but you know, it's like it's more collective and streamlined so that it has its own personality. And you know, something that I'm, you know, growing into is figuring out how to, you know, get to I guess put more of myself into, or show more of myself in my brand, because it's there whether or not I share it, it comes out, but you know, just doing it more intentionally, um, and I guess telling a more complete story is something that I'm excited to grow
Yeah.
into.
Well, I can tell you people will be interested. And I know that, like, from my perspective, it's hard to understand. Like, if I put myself in my own shoes, if you were telling me this, I'd be like, why would people be interested in my life? Like, my life, I mean, you know, but when I look at it through the lens of me being a customer, I'm interested in what you're eating for breakfast in the morning. I'm interested in what it feels like to walk down the street for you. I'm interested in how you met your partner. I'm interested in what kind of dog you have. I'm interested in how you like pair your clothes with your lavender colored shoes. So, like, I'm totally interested, but I understand, like, when I put myself in those shoes, I'm like, why would people care about my life? But I think we're wired that way, right? We're human, we're creatures, and we just like, we kind of want
Well,
to know.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm naturally introverted and pretty reserved
Right.
until, you know, until you get to know me. And then
Right.
like, you know, I, you know, bubble over with things to say. So it's like, I like getting past my own, like, you know, reservation, like not, you know, like getting comfortable with sharing things is definitely, you know, a challenge for me, but a fun one.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm an introvert. I would say almost everyone in my company is an introvert, and we just had a retreat in Costa Rica with 17 people, and every single person in the retreat was an introvert. So we seem like we are introverts. We attract introverts. Like, we
Sounds like my
understand.
kind of party.
We understand. Um, I wanted to ask you, um, as one of the last questions, what your wildest dreams are. Like, where do you see yourself? You know, like, are you like, do you, it's like the question in business, like, where will you take your business? And are you just like really happy with where it's at right now because it's just so like perfect? Or do you have visions of expanding? And what are those? Or what are your wild dreams?
Well, I am more focused on short-term goals at this point, and something that I'm hoping to do in the next few months is open a sort of a workshop, lab, and showroom here in Buenos Aires. Yeah. So yeah, I really miss having like well, not that I ever had it in the traditional sense, but since I've stopped traveling to different shows to show my product, I really miss having a physical manifestation of my brand. And even though, you know, it's in Buenos Aires, maybe it's hard to get to for most people, I just really think it's important to have a space where, you know, I can try different things, invite people into the space, really just give life to the brand. So that's something that I hope to do soon. And recently, I've just been noticing bags more, been drawn to them more, and so I see Zouxou expanding into to handbags in the near future as well.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
But overall, I mean, I would like to grow. I'd like to find that balance between, you know, doing the things that I love, but also being operationally excellent,
Hmm.
which means hiring help at some point, and that's it's a weird dream, but yeah, it's a dream.
Yeah.
Or a need. It's a desire and a need at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and oh, I had a question out of curiosity. So the workshop lab, would that mean that you would be like teaching people how to make or structure, or is it for you to tinker around? Is it to show how they're made and have a store?
Both actually. I do want to bring part of the, I want to bring the development process in-house, because what I mentioned before about Buenos Aires being spread out, and,
Yep.
sometimes it makes it hard to execute, the products on a timely basis. And so I'd like to have a small workshop where, I can, quickly sample that idea that I want to play with, and just make that decision, whether to move forward with it or not, and also be able to show what happens behind the scenes a little bit better. I'm sure you know that creating content requires foresight and planning. And in my current situation, my current manufacturing situation, it's like I would have to have too many channels on in my head to organize all of that. So I do want to share what happens behind the scenes more, push my product forward, and have a place where people can interact with the product in real life.
That sounds so fun. So would that, what am I trying to say? Do you have people in Argentina buying your shoes, or most people buying your shoes online from the States?
Most people are buying my shoes online from the States, but I do have like a small customer base here in Buenos Aires.
It'd be really fun to do like a retreat, like a maker's retreat, where you have, folks from the US come for like a week and like, see how you do things and see other things about the city. That would be really fun.
That would be cute. Yeah, like a Airbnb experience, the
Yes.
Zouxou.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to, yeah, it's something sort of to the effect where people visit a brewery to, like, try the beer and just learn a little bit about it. Yeah, it would be cool to make it an experience.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Last question for you.
Mhm.
Do you have any words of wisdom or insight that you find yourself like telling people often, or just like some piece of wisdom from the heart that you could offer?
Well, if, I'm talking to someone who is hoping to start their own business, I would say that it's really important to define a realistic goal early on, break that goal into steps, and start. And also give yourself a deadline. The only thing that's going to like keep get your head from the clouds and make it into reality is a solid strategy. So start small, and don't go into debt. And just take it one step at a time. And everyone says it, but it's true, done is better than perfect.
Love that. Oh, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Same to you. Thank you for having me, Katie.
And for anyone who wants to check out her gorgeous shoes, you can find her on Instagram, Zouxou Shoes. That's Zouxou shoes. Website is zouxou.com. And yes, they're beautiful. So be careful. You might want to get a few.
No, don't be careful. And I just wanted to put in a little plug. If you sign up for the mailing list, you get 10% off your first order.
Yay!
I'm going to take a picture of you really quick.
Oh, yeah, of course. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. I should do the same. Let's see. How do we do this? It's so cute. Cool. Well, I hope we keep talking, and I hope that maybe one day we can put together some experiences together. I have this friend who is in Uruguay, and she is.
Oh, wow.
I've met her a couple times in New York City, and she's just like promoting our flower essences. Like she's just, among other things in her business, she's just like blooming and blooming and blooming, and she wants to do more work in Argentina. So hopefully our paths will cross sometime in South America or New York soon.
I really hope so. And when are you going to be in New York?
New York will be January 2019, and then likely again in either April or May.
Excellent. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Sounds great. Have a beautiful day, Katherine. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us on the Flower Lounge.
You too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Flower Lounge. I'm Katie Hess, and we'll be releasing a new podcast every Wednesday. If you like what you heard, or you know someone who might be touched by our conversation, share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe. To find out what your favorite flowers mean about you, take the quiz at LOTUSWEI.com.